Happy New Year.
Heidi ho.
Is it going?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think so.
yeah, it's coming through. Trying a couple different things here, guys, so far. Yeah, let's see. See a couple people jump on. 1 o'clock. I don't know why it's not showing up on my phone yet.
I'll check it. Well, hold on. Go back to here. I'll check
Is
it
it
real
on?
quick.
Yeah, I got one. I got
Live.
someone, yeah. Can't tell who.
It's me. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh, probably is. Will it come through? Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go. It's on.
Hello. Oh, when you
Yeah,
go
there we
on, you hear it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, someone moved away.
Alrighty.
Nice.
Now I have
We'll
to
just
go
see
back.
who else is on.
Well,
Oh, there we go. Joseph, what up? Bover, what up? What up? We got a couple of guys here. No, it's not showing who else is on.
yeah, it's here. But it's not
There
showing
we go.
up here.
Yeah, it's not showing. It's all right. We'll figure it out.
There you
Playing
go.
with a couple different things here this week, guys, so mess around with it.
Hi, Keith.
Keith, what's up, buddy? How we doing? I doing nice, nice.
Such
And also Joe. Aaron, what's up? What's up? I see he's jumping on. Sweet.
Hello.
Bover, I know I owe you, buddy. I'm going to get back to you on that. Last week, I know you had asked about what age. Simple answer, it's never too late to start. But I'll touch base with you, buddy, and get it in there. I know. So
Alright,
last week was fun.
Yeah. I'm more nervous on camera. I'm used to being on the other side. So this is a change for me.
I thought it was pretty solid. Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. Again, right, the whole premise, guys, behind where we started, right, this initial ride is it's all about understanding what we don't know. And that's the whole idea behind what we're trying to accomplish, obviously, while we're doing this is the things that we don't know. We have to bring that to the surface, and that's the things that we want to start to communicate about as we get this going. I think that's a huge part right now is to just talk about the things that, what are those underlying issues that we're afraid to talk about? And that's what this is all about, is to get out there and say, you know what? We don't care.
Yeah, we definitely don't care. You'll find very quickly, for those of us that may not know us too well, but we say it like it is, and definitely.
We just don't give a shit. It's just how it goes. But we do. It's,
we care.
Yeah,
we care
give
about
a shit on a different level.
Yes.
We care about the passion part, the meat of it, the real stuff, not the behind doors conversations that everyone likes to have.
the negativity and the drama and all that stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. So.
Victoria, what's up? What's up? Lisa.
Hi, Aaron. From Cleveland.
Seacoast Spartans. Yeah. Jennifer.
Yeah.
We got
Nice.
we got some
Pittsburgh.
good
We're
crew
all
coming.
over. All right.
Hey guys, can you do us a favor? Please share this out. Share this out to your, people that are on your page and all that
Just
stuff.
hit the little share button.
Yeah, a little share button at the
Share
bottom
the
there.
love.
Share it would be awesome. The more we can get this out there, obviously, the more we can create the conversation. And
Yes.
helps us, helps you guys, just to keep stirring up and getting the things out there and all that fun stuff. So anything you do to help, we love it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Can we get started?
Yeah. Well, I thought we were started already.
Well, I mean, on today's topic.
Yes.
All
Winning?
of a sudden, we're very particular about words. Okay.
I know. What do you guys think about the new setup? Do you guys like it? You guys like it? Hit love. Hit love if you like the new setup. I'm trying out a little different thing. We changed it up a little bit. Right? Because you know why? We're figuring it out. We're developing. We're developing.
We'll try on
You can't win right away. We're developing. So as we jump into today's topic, right, guys, winning versus development. So real hot topic. We talk about, listen, we could talk about this topic for literally hours and hours, right?
Oh, you could for sure.
Yeah, easily. Because it's at the core of so much, right? We laugh about it, we make fun of it. But today's show, guys, that's what we want to really zone in on, right? Is to just create that conversation of what are the things that, again, what are the different perspectives that are out there that we deal with that don't allow us to move forward past this whole winning versus development? Because at the core of it, most people know the reality and the truth of it. Like, it's so funny. Most people, and when I say most people, I know we got to watch our language and our words, right? But what I mean by that is most people that have gone through the journey and have gone through the years of experience, they come out and they know, like, yes, it is about development, right? Case in point, right? What was the question? I'm going to read it off there. So we ended up going into our all-in page, guys, last week, and I asked a simple poll question, right? And we ended up asking here. I'm just going to pull it up here so we know the exact of how we asked it.
I had it up. It's just when it shuts off, it kicks me out. Okay. You want to hear the question?
Yeah.
So we asked you, what do you feel is more important for your youth athletic experience between the ages of 6 and 13, or 6 to 13? And the options for you to answer: we're playing on a competitive team that focuses on helping every player achieve long-term success development, or playing on a winning team that may sacrifice playing time for certain players in order to win. And by a vast majority,
it was
like 22 to 1.
22 to 1.
Or 20, I'm sorry, like 25 to 1.
And I think Max was messing around.
Was development, yeah. So development is obviously what we all say that we want. And I think one of the things we obviously do for each other, but that we're here to do with you, is that we need to call each other out on our bullshit a little bit. Because I think a lot of times it's so easy to say we want development first. And we, in our hearts, we want development first, but are we really willing?
Are we behaving?
Are we walking the walk, or are we just talking the talk? Because I was just joking around with him, and I'm like, everyone says they want to be fit and healthy, but then the next thing you know, there's chocolate cake, and then it's just over. It's like, okay, what just happened? So, yeah, that's true, because it's so easy to say we want development. And I think we can all agree that development in most of our situations, 99.9, is the right choice. It's exactly where we should be and what we should be focusing on. But as parents, we need to be mindful of what does that look like? What does that picture of development before winning really look like? And some of those tough traps that parents may find themselves in. So Coach, why don't you tell us what does a true development first approach look like, and where might be some pitfalls based on unconscious behaviors parents might get stuck being like, I want development, but ooh, that feels weird or different.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny, right? The experience that goes through. So one of the things, guys, that popped up, I thought was interesting with our 25 to 1, and I still think the one was messing around. I know I'm a great guy, Max. But where we start off, guys, is this, right? When you think about it from a developmental standpoint, the majority of the people that actually answered that question, right, that said, hey, this is what it is, were the people that actually already experienced it. And if you notice, most of the people that they already had, their kids already went through it, they're either in college or they're playing professionally. Right? There's a lot of the people that actually stepped up, probably about 20 of them, are the ones that already went through the experience and said things like, if I had to do it all over again, here's what I would focus in on, definitely right from the start. So that's a big part of when we start to talk about winning versus development. It's a perspective that we carry with that and what that means right off the bat. Right? When we look at development, the big part is this, right? Is how often when you come into the culture, are you legitimately being educated right from the start? So what it looks like is this, right? Developmental culture right off the bat, we know is this. And there's some different organizations that try to put it in. They're trying to implement different ways, but a big key part is communication, right? It's putting it out there of, this is what we're trying to create. This is what we're trying to do with you, right? As an organization, here's the direction we're going. Here's what we're trying to set up. When you watch practices, very organized, right? There's a theme to them. You see them, they're consistent. You don't come one day and see one practice one way and then come to another practice to get another way, right? And those are a couple of significant differences that you see, right? And then culture, that big part now that you see is connection, is that having fun is a big part, right? You see now that the organizations that are doing that are zoning in on more about development, you can see they're also making an intention to make sure that the kids are having a good time, that there's smiles on their faces, right? And that they're learning, right? So those are a couple of things that you see when we talk about it from the get-go that you'll notice just by watching parents. If you're getting emails consistently, you see coaches talking to your child, right? You see these things, you just have to look. Like that's the easy stuff on that part. You look out on the ice and you watch, or you look out on the field, anywhere at court, whatever it is, you see a consistency, right? A method to the madness. You see that, you know what, they're consistently doing these things. What is it that they're doing? And again, a great coach, a great culture will communicate that back. Where when we look at from the other side of where it's about winning only, the other side is it's more about, hey, we're going to play the best players. And depending on the energy that day, and again, this is from a culture that I'm going off of where it's a culture that, and you see it right into the professional rankings as well. You're going to play the energy guys, the people that they're true developmental coaches that are coaching at higher levels. They're trying to win based off of the energy that you bring. And that's something that we deal with a lot with our students, is that it's hard for them to deal with. Maybe 1 week they're playing for a top level, one of the best teams in the country. And what they're struggling with is that 1 week they're playing a lot, the next week they're not playing a lot. And they don't get it. And it's like, because in the beginning of the year, that's what's happening, is you're playing the people that are bringing the energy that day. You feel it, you sense it, you go with it. So you're looking to win the games based off of that. So I'm not sitting here judging it for at all of like a winning culture, because I know you're going to chirp me and you're going to have your 2 cents to say about it when I'm in that environment. But go ahead, you want to say your chirp? You want to put it out?
No, about winning?
About winning.
Well, you certainly don't like losing.
No.
And I think that, like, again, all this sounds great, but I'm going to even push you to go deeper. Like, what you just painted, of course, development's great. I want my kid.
Yeah.
But like, where's the hard part of development? Where's the non-sexy part where it's like, oh, why aren't we traveling to this tournament or that tournament? Or what do you mean we're not playing as many games? Like, where's the part of the development that's the chocolate cake is teasing you from? Like, that's what I want, that I think we all need to get to that place.
The marathon. It's being able to see in today's world, right? The way we're conditioned, we're instant society. Everything has to happen now. And that's filtered down. If you notice, everything always filters from the top. So whatever the pros are doing, that must be what the young youth must be doing. Oh, it must be the same thing. We take away the middle ground. We take away everything that's happening from being a pro to being a youth. Right? When we talked about that confidence video we put out a couple weeks ago, that was the whole point, is that it's the space between. It's the space between, right? And that's the part that is hard to see, because we want everything now. Well, what do you mean? I want my kid to be an unbelievable athlete now. But they don't understand it takes 4, 5, 6 years to experience that, which it's hard for everybody, including us, right? It's even as entrepreneurs, business owners, and all that stuff, it's hard to see that, but it's the focus of what helps create success for us, or for anybody else that's successful for that matter, is you keep envisioning it, you keep looking at it, and you see the prize at the end of the top.
But I want to like put it in their terms. So it's like, if you, I just bought you a ring, and you have a program, and parents are like, oh my God, I'm going to Coach Vinny's ring, and the program's going to be amazing. Yeah. What is the one thing that you think that you would have set up in an organized, communicated manner that they'd be like, wait, what? You want my kid to do what?
Right.
Like, how am I going to help my kid now? What's that thing?
Well, right off the bat,
yes,
it's understanding, laying out what the standard is of the organization and where we're going. So bringing in parents and educating them right from the start is a non-negotiable.
But I mean, but are they playing a billion games? Are they?
No.
How much ice time?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to, so that we're all on the same page of like where it might hurt a little, like where it might be like, ooh, that's not what I'm used to. That kind of makes me feel a little uncomfortable. But because of communication, hopefully, I can maybe move forward with it. But what's something that these parents can maybe identify that may make them feel a little, ooh, like that feeling that, oh, I don't know, but like that's just different than the norm. Like, I think we talk about cross-sites too. Like, things that are coming out that are like, make us, it's not what we've always done, but that doesn't mean that it's what's right.
Right, exactly. So the biggest part, right off the start, is full ice versus cross ice is a great example. Right? There's this constant battle that goes on, inside the hockey culture of which one is better, which one, right? The traditionalist mentality versus the new school, even though the data shows, right? The science shows that you get way more touches. That's what it's all about, is thinking through it. The agility that's developed, the thinking process is developed, the good, juicy stuff is so much more, right? Versus the other way, you think that, well, wait a second, what about the full ice? And I think that's a part right there, right off the bat, in terms of setting the tone, is that where's the happy medium? Where's the happy medium? Where's a combination of both? Like, as an example, I've talked to a couple different coaches that want to argue and say, oh, cross ice, it's bullshit, all this and that, because they love the traditionalists of like, you got to go up and down the ice. Well, the way I look at it, I'm like, in setting up, if working with that age group, like the younger players, right away you come in and you think, okay, you know what? The first 10, 15 minutes, we're going to do a lot of full ice type of activities. So they get that ability to warm up and feel the full ice. But then after that, let's get into the small area games. So we're going to do that for a solid 30, maybe 40 minutes. Then we come back at the end and we finish off again with full ice sprints, races, having a good time with that. So in this way, we're getting a happy medium. In the beginning, you're getting some full ice. At the end, you're getting some full ice. But in between, at the core of it, we're doing a lot of small area games to get their agility, thinking process, and all that type of stuff. Right? So that's at the meat of when we start to get into of what it looks like. Is that kind of like where you're going with this? Like, you want to understand what it looks like?
What does development look like?
That's what a developmental process will look like.
Yes.
If you look at, that's what we're trying to do, is how do we create that happy medium and not just say it's one way and that's it. Because the science and everything that's being pushed out to us, it's crazy. Like, what's wild to me is that here, these people, and this is a struggle, I think, in general, right? You see it culturally. Like, it's, what do you mean, these people?
Who are these people?
Who are these people? No, what ends up happening, right, is that as a whole, the stories kick in and we get used to just, this is the way that it's always been. It's comfortable.
Absolutely.
It's hard to change. But at the same time, though, you have this group of people that's their job. Like USA Hockey, ADM.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many people realize, and there's governing bodies in all kinds of different, I know that I saw in rugby, I was one, soccer. There's all kinds of different sports that have these people that's their job. That's what their profession is. Just like a parent has their profession, just like any other teacher, coach has their profession. This is the profession that they have, right? That they do all day is study this and try to figure out how to put out to the culture and the people involved as a whole. This is the information. These are the best practices. This is what we all need to do. But then what happens in the story is we put that information out and we say, this is what you're supposed to do. But then bam, what happens? Ownership comes in. Well, wait a second. We have people that want to leave. Hold on. Why do they want to leave? Well, because parents, they want to play more games. They don't want more development and all that stuff. Boom. There's a story that you hear.
So I think what happens, it gets lost in translation.
Oh,
and
big time.
I think we're fortunate in hockey to have ADM because they do. We have people out there just doing tons and tons of research to see what works, what doesn't. And but I think where USA Hockey kind of fails a little bit is the rollout, is getting buy-in from parents, not just rink ownership or coaches, because they just put it out there, but the enforcement is not really there, and it shouldn't be like a law, but there should be an education process that goes along with why it's important, that's embraced by the rink, not just ownership, but parents. But you brought up a good thing that I had wanted to talk about, that because from having worked for several different rinks and seeing that perspective, is ownership just wants to do what makes its masses happy, and they judge you, parent, and your families by the masses. And it's a saying my dad always says, but this squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Exactly.
So it may not be what most of you want, but the few that are complaining because, oh, we're not doing as many games, or you cut our ice time, or they stop making decisions based on what's best for the overall development, and they start making decisions based on these few individuals that really are loud and speak up and make everybody nuts. Because that's what happens is we go in, it's tryouts, here's the price of the program or whatever's going on, and it's like, well, what am I getting? And what is this? And instead of it just being like, is my kid going to get developed?
Right, exactly.
Do you have good coaches in place?
Right, exactly.
And
that's a personality thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's call it what it is. Like, the people that have that ability to just speak out like that and do that, they're just strong personalities, right? We have them in all cultures. But depending on which way that strong personality sways is where the issues come in, right? This is where the issues lie, is that if it's a personality that, hey, believes in the program, believes in what the message of the coach, the ownership, the culture and all that stuff, great. They're going to be one of your biggest ambassadors. They're going to put it out there, right? But if it's one of those parents that has their own agenda and it's not about the team, it's only about their child, or they've been led to perceive, right, and believe that they're not getting the love for their child, and they're going to go out and they're going to be your worst critic. And that, like you said, the squeaky wheel gets the gets the grease is such a great term, because that's the reality, is that there's a small percentage of people that are that personality, right? That are going to get out there, that are going to put themselves out there, because the rest, the most, they're not going to get into it like that. They're not going to go out and just say, here's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, like Joseph.
Right?
Those people usually have their own agenda.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yep. No doubt. No doubt. Jeff Patton. Yep. Exactly. And bingo. Exactly. Right. But those people tend to be the influencers. Amen. Right. And it's like everything else, guys. Right. Who are the influencers? Like the fact that even you look at us, right, that we go do stuff like this. If we didn't talk like this over the last couple of years and put it out there, how would anyone know what we do? To this day, there's still some of our own friends don't even know what we're doing.
Or family.
Or family. And we're out here all the time grinding it out, trying to get the message out, right? And try to spark, inspiration, conversation, all that stuff. But that's the whole point, right? Is that when you don't get out there, you don't put it out, that creates a lot of issues.
Absolutely.
But it brings back to another point that you made earlier, which is phenomenal, right? Is that
I tend to do that.
Yeah, exactly. You're pretty good, right? Is that we definitely don't talk enough about the positives.
Absolutely.
We don't. And that's an easy one. Like, as an example, I get a text message from a parent through the years, and this isn't just from doing this, but through the years. I remember back in the day, I get a text message from a parent and say, hey, you're doing a great job, thanks a lot, like twice a year. And it was like the greatest feeling ever, like,
well, that's probably because you only did a good job.
But it was like, I remember like how good it felt to get those messages during the year, because then, at the end of the year, parents usually like, hey, they're coming back. Hey, thank you very much. Doing great, blah, blah, blah. But during the year when the craziness was going on, you never heard from the parents. And it made such a huge impact when I got those messages, and I loved it. And it's just, that's part of the ego. That's part of that your message is getting across. Right? As human beings, we need that. And there's enough of that. There's way more of the other side.
Of course.
Of why these stories are developed.
It's on both ends. And there's the end of, when you lose a game, you go back and you look at everything. We want to place the blame, but when we win, are we really speaking up to say what we should about that win? But then in the realm of being in the ring, not just your coaches, your hockey directors, like when something's going right, tell them you like the program. Exactly. Because if all they're getting is the annoying people that we're posting about here in the comments, they have their own agenda, the influencers, these people that have their own agenda and are only really care about their kid. If they're the only ones ever going to the hockey director, they're the only ones ever going to coach then thinks everybody feels this way. Because those people tend to love saying everybody. When you're like, trust me, those negative people, everybody thinks this way.
Oh, yeah.
They are not happy with the structure of what's going on right now. And I would challenge you that if you are involved in a good organization, if you play for a good team, you vocalize that, because it goes so much farther than you think. Because then when those negative people come in, they're thinking, yeah, but I just heard from other people and they're happy. And all you need is that seed of doubt, and they can then make a more balanced decision rather than just always hearing from the negative people. Right. The positivity will outweigh things beyond. Maybe they do, as an organization, want to do something a little bit more drastic. Like there's some organizations that have brought you in the past to try something, but they let those negative voices kind of take over. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I'm right now I'm envisioning right away. There's scenario where it took, organization brought me in. They're like, all right, here, work with our younger players. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Here's what I'm looking to do, blah, blah, blah. Trying to lay out the foundation, get the parents together, all this stuff. I'll never forget every single thing we tried to do. It was such a battle. It was unbelievable. Hey, we want to create this Facebook group page. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you can't put your logo. Hey, can we end up going and turn around and we'd like to have a parent meeting? Okay, yeah. It's going to be about 8 weeks from now is when we finally got one. 8 weeks. The season already started. 8 weeks later, okay, now we're having a meeting. And these were the challenges and the battles that as you sit back and it's like, you come in, it's like, you brought me in to do a job. You brought me in to try to help. But from an organizational standpoint, it was unbelievable to go through that process, because finally when we had that parent conversation, and this was with one of the teams that were at the under 10 level, and I'll never forget this one parent, right, turns around and we're talking, having a great conversation. At least I'm feeling like it's a great conversation. And we're getting into the philosophy. Here's why we're doing everything. You've seen now multiple weeks what we're trying to do. And it was awesome. It was awesome. This parent comes down and goes, well, here's my issue. Here's my problem. And it's one of those, just a loud personality. And comes out, right? Just the way it is. And she turns around, right? And she goes, puts it out there and starts and goes, it's as if my kid it's as if they're just playing out there. That's all. It's as if they're just playing. And I go, bingo. And I'll never forget that moment, because here I go. She's saying it's as if they're just playing. In a negative way for kids that are basically 9 years old that are out there. Like, this is.
How dare you
do that, right? The fundamental part of it. Fun. Right, exactly. It's all laid out, planned out. But then here's what was interesting about that is here was this parent that says this in this group, and the director of the program sitting right next to me says nothing to come back on it. Says nothing to back me up, to say this is the philosophy, this is the way it's supposed to be. Just sits there and just takes it in and does nothing to help solidify the message to this parent. And that's where rubber meets the road so many times. Yeah. How many situations we've been in where it's like, hey, come on in here, be a ball in the china shop, do this, do that. And it's such bullshit because it's so not true. Because as soon as you start to do that and you do the bull in the china shop thing, right away, well, we can't do it here. Well, we can't do it with that. Well, parents don't want this. Well, that coach that's coaching doesn't want that. Well, we can't do that. And it's like,
way too many egos. Way too many egos.
And you're dealing with all sports. This is life.
This is how it works too. Trust me.
Everyone's dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, fundamentally is that from a coaching standpoint, like how tough that is, right? To jump in and you're told do your job and you're told to come in, but then you turn around and it's like, well, wait a second, this person doesn't agree with you, and this person doesn't support you, the organization doesn't support you. What job are you going to possibly pull off when that doesn't happen? And these are, again, the deeper cultural issues that we have that we've experienced. I'm not talking just pulling these stories on my freaking ass, right? These are stories that legitimately happen, which, by the way, at that time, I wasn't great at communicating, being able to say back to them, you shouldn't act that way, so it takes two to tango, right, on that stuff. But I just sat back and I was like, okay, that's how you want to operate? No problem. No problem.
Okay. I'm going to bring us back a little bit.
Bring us back. Bring us back, baby. Bring us back.
Thanks for a little story time.
Bring us back.
But it did bring up a good point that I think we should talk about, and I think age has a lot to do with where you are in your development. So breaking it down a little bit between where you think at what age should what be going on, at what age do things change a little bit and you need to be prepared for it maybe not to be fun first?
Yeah, let's pull up, let's share the, put that up.
I am going to just
I know, we're going to figure this out, guys, right now.
I'm going to try to share the screen through this program.
You try to share, yeah.
So if I disappear, I'm really, really sorry. We'll be right back.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what happens.
So the idea, application, is up or not? No, there you share your screen.
Here, this one? All right.
Sure, let's see what'll pop up. So one of the things that's out there, right, is the information as if you go, like as an example, right, one of the things that's really powerful is USA Hockey puts out this breakdown. And then this is something I wanted to share and go off of, right, just to talk about this breakdown as it goes. Put application window.
I did already. It doesn't like me.
All right. So let me just pull up then.
Hold on. I swear. I even tested this. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, you're kidding. So I want to make sure that we have this laid out right correctly in that part. But if you guys go, and most sports have this, you've got it, different ones about the life skills. But as an example, USA Hockey's ADM model, right? There's this picture here that puts up, and we'll see if she can end up pulling it up, right? But it talks about fundamentals.
I'm going to do the entire screen. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, it's sharing that right now. That's what you're sharing.
Oh, because I need to go. What happens?
Right. So
does anyone see this?
No, they don't. No, I can tell they don't see that.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, as we're trying to pull this up right now.
Sorry.
Right.
I tried.
Fundamentals. Right. It talks about from ages 6 to 9 for males, ages 6 to 8 for females. Right. The objective of this stage is to refine fundamental movement skills and begin to acquire basic sports skills. Right. There's a time when a foundation is laid for future acquisition of more advanced skills. Right. The focus is on development of physical literacy. Right, physical literacy. So when we talk about the beginning stages, there's a prime example of something that's put out there, information that's out there. It's right on the internet, guys. And if Marissa figures this out here in a second, the boss. I
have a serious concentration
phase
on. So
but right off the bat, that's something that, what are we putting our time into at those ages? Are we working on the physical literacy? Are we working on, so as an example, right, in ice hockey, you talk about being able to skate properly, being able to stick handle a puck properly, being able to shoot properly, being able to whatever it is, pass properly, right? All these fundamental skills are things that I've seen that kids move on to the next stage, which is learn to So hopefully it didn't cut off. Yeah, just stop.
Okay.
So that's where fundamentally we get cut off, right? Is that right here, it says at point blank, that's what we need to do. But then I'll see coaches will try to teach systems at that age, try to do breakouts, try to do all kinds of things when these kids are 7, 8, 9, and that's not at all what the two practice slots a week that you might have. That's not what they should be utilized for. Right? It's about developing fundamental skill, and when the kids go into the games, teach them the basics. One of the things I love to do all the time is you can teach the systems of just simple of, hey, here's what you need to do in a offside situation. You can show that off the ice. You can show that in a field. You can show basic defensive coverage in a field. You can show these things. You don't have to use ice time for that, right? So that's as an example that we get into then.
Well, hold on, just back, because I stress that because I think it's hard, and that's one of the moments where we go, oh, you're taking away our ice time. I think that's an important moment just to let that soak in for a second. How do you guys feel if your team came out and was like, look, we're going to be losing an ice slot because we're going to be doing, defensive drill. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to do more off the ice training to show.
Not strength training, off the ice training. Like, share with us, what does that make you feel? Are you on board with something like that? Or is that, and be honest, is that kind of.
We have all kinds of great comments too. Listen out on.
Yeah.
So, but my point is, and I don't want to get into it, but let's get into what some of the parents are asking. So my point is, learn to train is the next stage, right? For ages 9 to 12 for males and ages 8 to 11 for females. Right there, information is right there. Then train to train is for ages 11 to 15 for female and ages 12 to 16 for male. Why am I bringing this up and just saying? Because the information's out there. And how much are we educating ourselves on it is number one. But number two, more importantly, how much are we allowing this to be implemented into the culture? Versus, we need to play more games. That's what we need. We need to win. We need to do more of that, right? These are all that's the nitty gritty of basically understanding winning versus development and stuff like that. And that's a big part, is that every stage you can find this information right online and take a look at it. But how serious are you about the information that you're being given? Because as we polled our parents and our community, majority of people said, yep, we 100%, it should be about the development. So if at those stages, if that's what it's about, then are we working through, here it is laid out for you on a silver platter by the ADM model of, here's what you need to do. So are we, as organizations, focusing in on that? Are we educating? Are we zoning in on that, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up
and then what's
Joseph. He said, we had a game scheduled Sunday against the team we beat previously, and the team we lost to Saturday had the same. So we changed the schedule so we could play the team we lost to again for better development. Yeah. Few parents were unhappy about not getting the easy win. Right, exactly. And there it is, right? Is that, Joe makes a great point, is that the one thing we have to understand, guys, is when parents get unhappy about that stuff, it's not coming from a place of, right, yeah, it's not coming from a place of it's coming from a place of negativity, but it's not coming from a bad place in terms of it's all they know. Right? It's coming from a place of, oh, wait a second, why are we doing that? They're not thinking about the development part. They're not understanding that the way a coach or the way more experienced people would understand it. About a parent asking, like, why?
Right, and that's why it's being able to communicate to them clearly. But if the parent has that issue with them, it's the parent's issue, not the team's issue. Right? But the communication is huge. So you have to talk to those parents, and that's all you can control as a coach. So
I'm saying, like, as a coach, let's say a coach doesn't communicate, but then they just made this move.
Well, that's why those issues pop up. That's exactly why those pop up.
For sure, but as a parent, can't you go, is it frowned upon or bad? Can, as a parent, I go to coach and say, can you just, I'd like to learn, like, do you say anything, or do you just keep your mouth shut? Or if that situation happened, but coach didn't explain it.
Yeah.
But you want to understand, maybe you're trying to learn.
Well, this comes back to culturally, what does a coach do? Does a coach put out there, and does he agree or she agree with talking to the parents and explaining to them? And this is what we started talking about last week, right? Is the fact that, are we giving out clearly what our message is and why we're trying to do it, right? And Joe, that's a great question for you, right? Was that something that was explained to the parents on why? Was that put that out there? Or was it just, hey, we left it to the parents to kind of just figure it out for themselves and that's it? Because that's a lot of times why these issues come into play. Yeah. It's because of the fact that we don't communicate clearly, right? And say, hey, you know what? This is what's better. Quick little email. This is why we're doing it, guys. It's better off so you catch it ahead of time. And basically you cut off the squeaky wheels of, like, you can feel that way all you want, but the email was laid out and the rest of the parents that get it, you're going to strengthen them. That's the whole point, right? By communication is you're strengthening them by saying, well, that's why we did it. You can squeaky wheel all you want, but that's exactly why we did it, right? That was the whole point behind it.
Yeah, I got another one here from Victoria. Yeah. I have found that it is important for your child to feel they are learning and developing from their coach, even when they are out there losing games. This is the first year we found a coach that always gets a message across, win or lose.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and that's huge. And so important, right? That a coach that gets their message across, because that's the leader. That's the bottom line. Is that's the leader, right? And that's what's so important on that side of things, is that, it's understanding, right? Like, one of the things I know I've taken on as a responsibility is knowing that, and it took me a long time, and I'm still evolving as I keep going with it, but it's understanding that, yeah, I do have this voice. I do have this ability that, to go out and share and put it out there and have these ideas that I feel like this is, this is what my road is. Like, this is my responsibility now, right? And with that comes being, from a leadership standpoint, there comes responsibility. And it comes with me being able to admit, I've done plenty of dumb things and plenty of wrong things along the way, but I learned from my mistakes. And that's the biggest part. And now I went from not wanting to communicate with parents back in the day to now I understand the importance of it. And like Victoria said, right, is that being able to, from the win or the loss, like even losing games, that's so, so powerful right there. Because losing games is going to happen. But how we handle the reaction to it is where it starts. And that starts culturally, from an organizational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, and then from a parent standpoint on how we relay that message and how we express that to each other in the stands after the game when we're all talking, in the car when we're talking with our child. These are all those little hits that you get that it all comes back to fundamentally how, as a parent, you are perceiving things, right? Or as a coach, how you're perceiving it.
And I think that's also such a big part of development. Like, it's whether you're win or losing, there's always something to take away from. There's always something to learn and get better. So if you're out there just demolishing teams or just focused on winning, you're probably missing some lessons along the way.
Yeah, I remember this one guy ended up literally had a team that would have done a great job of just keeping the team right out where they were, and they would have struggled that season, but developmentally would have been unbelievable for them. Would have been unreal for them. Decides to go a level lower instead. And a lot of people do this. We know this goes on where instead of just playing at the level of, you know what, we got half the team are pretty good, the other half, they need to catch up. And this was at a young age. I believe it was at the team it was at that under 10 mark, right, or under 8. But it was the same thing of where there was such that emphasis of let's go lower so we can go win and beat teams. And then this guy would turn around and talk about how, oh my God, my team, we're 30-1, we're unbelievable, holy cow, look how amazing, everybody post how amazing our team is. And I'm just sitting there and I knew the truth of it. I'm like, what are you celebrating? Your team didn't belong at that level. What are you celebrating? You should have been at the next level. And then developmentally, that in the long run, in the marathon, would have helped the team so much. But no, it was the other side and running around. It's how it goes.
Well, and I would say, because I'm someone that didn't play sports, so this whole other part of my life that has come into sports, that if it's the older you get and the more competitive you are, if you're playing at a high level, it's a really intense environment. It requires so much sacrifice, not just as a player, but a whole entire family commitment. You guys know you're traveling all over the place in a car, for crying out loud, way longer than any human being should ever have in a car. But you're making all these sacrifices. That was the question I wanted to get at right here. But you're making all these sacrifices. So if you're not finding a way to instill a strong foundation or finding a way to instill the love of the game for younger levels of kids and stop taking this crap out of it, you're going to end up in a very long car ride with a bunch of miserable people, because when you're young is when it's all about, you need to have fun, you need to grow, you need to learn, all of you do. And it's so important to instill that at the younger age levels so that when it does get really tough, and it will get really tough. Trust me, if you think like, it's tough and really hard, and the stress is hard when you're little, like, you should see what these kids go through,
I have yet, let me simplify this. I have yet to have any college coach, pro scout, anybody come up and say, you know what? 6 years old, 7 years old, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, even 13, right? For the most part, 13, of asking, where'd that kid play when they were that age? What did they do at that age? They don't care. All they care about is character, good kid. Hey, can you play the game at this point? And now it becomes real. But before that, holy cow, that we put an emphasis on thinking that somebody actually cares. Like at different, tournaments, there's going to be scouts there. Scouts, they're 10. There's no scouts there. Nobody cares at 10 years old.
No, but here's Laura with a question that I think brings up a good point, because we're talking about development as a team, but I think obviously we all have kids. Let's talk about development on an individual level, because something that may be a challenge for your child, to step up or step down, what's right. So Laura wrote, what's your opinion on if you make a final cut, should the coaches tell you or your child what you need to work on if you get cut?
Yes. From their perspective, and here's what it is. It's a time thing, guys, so that's tough, right? That's tough to it's not culturally done. But from a standpoint of, to answer your question, yes, you should give information. But in today's world, it's so easy to do that by just creating a Google Doc, a simple Google Doc, that afterwards you know what? Here's why we didn't pick you for our team right now. That's all. Here's why. It could be simple stuff. We felt you weren't strong enough. Speed wasn't there. Your skill set wasn't what we were looking for. Whatever it is, but you should give some type of 1, 2, 3 sentences on these are the reasons why you didn't fit into this part of our culture. That's it. And that's the biggest part. But yes, agree 100%. There should be, now again, there should be some feedback given, but here's the hidden secret of a lot of times that goes on that we all know is the reality is, did your kid even get looked at in the first place? There's times where a kid will they'll go out and right away, what are we looking for? We're looking for the top players. Boom, boom, boom. So there'll be times, and I've done this myself before, is that I'll just see a kid no automatically, and I write that kid off. I just, yep, no, I'm not going to fit, just for whatever it was. And this was at the time of 15, 16, 17. These are older players. I'm not talking about young like that. But I just sit there, and it was like right away, nope. At tryouts, nope, not going to be good enough. And so the rest of the time, I wouldn't watch that deeply. I would start to watch more and make sure of the players that are on the fence. Who are those people? Because then there was the players that I knew right away. Yep, these are the ones I'm picking. Then there was on the fence, and then the ones at the bottom I didn't really pay much attention to after that. So to bring it back to the point, yes, you want to get that feedback, but then it's putting the personnel in place culturally as an organization. Do you have the people that, hey, you know what? Let's give back the feedback of why, and let's put that out there. And a lot of times at the younger levels, it's a little bit different than dealing with 60, 70 kids out there. And sometimes you are dealing with 60, 70, but coming up with that solution, it's a great point that Laura points out, is that there's a solution for that. But I agree, you should get some kind of feedback back from the organization, and they should tell you something so you have some kind of peace of mind, because that's the worst thing that happens to so many families. You just don't know. You just don't know, what can I do? What can I do to get better? What can I do to get at that level? And that comes back to even, that's a whole nother animal.
Yes, I was going to say, when we get closer to, at least in the hockey realm of tryout time, we're going to do a whole series of stuff on finding organizations, what fit works for you, and all that good stuff. But Brian he said, the problem is most organizations are posting about results after the weekend. So why wouldn't parents believe that that's the measuring stick? And that's
influence leads to perspective. Brian, great comment. Absolutely, Brian. Influence leads to perspective. And you control the website. You control the information you put out. You control your Twitter sphere and your Facebook sphere and your Instagram-ish, whatever you've got going on. I don't know. I would try it, right? You control as an organization the information that gets put out. But how often are we celebrating, right? How often are we celebrating the other kids?
Well, and that's what he
writes. Those are accomplishing, yep.
We may preach development early, but how many teams actually talk about development over results? Team X winning a tournament is way sexier than Team X didn't break pool play, but they're getting better. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that's where, again, rubber meets the road in that part, right? Is that we don't talk enough about that. We don't create that influence because, again, I think fundamentally it's a lot tougher. And this was coming back to bring it full circle, what you said earlier of why we just say everyone, why we use, that's what everybody thinks on stuff, because it's easy. Yep. Because the other way is tough. One of the things that always talk about, inside of our culture is that being positive is hard work. Love is hard work. It doesn't just happen, right? But it takes effort. It takes effort. But you can challenge it, but it takes effort. But the other side is easy. Complaining, negativity, it's easy. So go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to draw a correlation that we can all relate to is when
So you're speaking for we?
No, I'm giving an example I think parents can relate to.
Okay.
So with everybody syndrome.
Yes, thank you.
Your kid wants to go to a party or your kid wants to go do something and you're like, I don't know who's going to be there. What's going on? But mom, everybody's doing this. Or everybody has an iPad at 5 years old. Everybody needs an iPhone. They use it on us too. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you could just for a minute. And we can sometimes, but it's important to get. The everybody syndrome is the most that's the biggest issue because we think everybody. That's 100%. And all we have to do is just. I always like to try and think of the other person's side. So like when you're dealing with a coach or you're dealing with an organization, it's and you're hearing everybody or whatever, like think about how that feels when your kid tries to pull that shit on you. You're like, no, it's not gonna work. Like,
right, exactly. You're your kid, but then you'll go complain to other people that call your kid out on it.
No, but I'm just saying, if all we can do is start to become aware of the fact that when someone drops the everybody bomb, that it's not everybody, it's just a few annoying people most of the time. And or if it's something that really bothers you, then speak up, and we should be able to have conversations with one another in a mature way for growth. That's my point. But I like to try and draw a correlation, not so much from the coaching world, but to the parent world, so that we can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. Great topic on that part. Yeah, John, no, agree 100%. Obviously, yeah, I have to explain for sure. Anybody else? I think we got. Yeah, did we get everybody? There's one. Yeah, Lisa. I think we got. All right. So it seems like it seems to be believe in the process. Amen. Amen, Billy boy. Amen.
I don't know if you're still on, but yes.
I love Coach Billy.
So why don't we wrap up what you can take with you guys?
Takeaways, guys. Right. So here's a couple of things that, in the hockey world that goes on, but this goes in, you talk about different worlds, like soccer world, all this stuff. We talk about, here's some things that the bottom line is this out the window, right? Small area games are awesome. They are awesome. At the younger levels, older levels, you see it all the time. This whole that we have to do full ice and all that stuff.
I mean, don't
as a culture. Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah. A ton, right? You see it at every level. Division I, major, junior, Division III. Everybody that knows anything about development knows that those small area games are phenomenal for agility, for quick decision making, right? For body awareness, all kinds of stuff. You look at, I know inside the hockey world, when you look at, you see all the greats right now, the McDavids, Matthews. They all talk about this all the time, that their training, a lot of their training has to do with tight space, thinking faster. So this whole thing about the bigger ice when the kids are younger, yes, there's a place for it, for sure. Vinny, shout out, buddy, right? My brother, Paul Vince, always talks about that. I know he's watching earlier. I don't know if he's still watching. But there's definitely a place for the full ice, for sure. But you mix it in. At the core of it, small area games are phenomenal. It doesn't matter. Parents, learn, right? Do some research on it. Coaches, research. Everybody, right? Research. That's the first thing. Yeah, exactly. Rankings mean nothing. You talk about, when we talk about basically winning versus development, rankings mean absolutely nothing when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. It's the biggest joke there is out there in the scene. It is, right? Because it is. Because it creates this competitive fire to want to know something that in the end means nothing in the grand scheme of things. It means nothing. When you get older, yeah, I know where you're going with this. I know. When you're older, yes, it becomes more competitive. You have to learn that. You have to understand how it works.
Wednesday mornings, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Wednesday mornings when it comes down to the hockey world, right? And there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You love looking at that when you get competitive, for sure. But when you're 8, 9, 10, 12, it's the biggest joke that we see that's out there, because what is it doing in the end? You honestly think knowing that information is helping you in absolutely any kind of way?
Any way accurate at that stage.
Right. It's such a joke of like teams that get put into tier 1 and then tier 2. And then it's like, how many teams that are playing that tier 2 division could kill these tier 1 teams and vice versa. Like, it's just the label of that is a joke. So something just, again, put it out there.
The last part.
Go ahead.
And because we talked about it already, but vocalizing the positive. I can't tell you how important this is to tell your coach if he is doing a good job, he's doing a good job. If you happen to be lucky enough to be at a rink that has a strong organization that's trying to do the right thing, and again, no one's perfect, tell them, because as they're starting to think about decisions, programs, what could we be doing better? What could we be doing worse? Don't just let them hear from the negative Nancy's. Get out there and tell them. You will make someone's day. You will see their face light up when you're just like, you know what? That was a great practice, coach. Thank you. You're going to it's crazy. And the same thing, don't forget about your hockey directors, because they really do. Usually when someone wants to talk to the hockey director, it's not pleasant. It's never really a good situation.
Trying to interact with the program, right?
Yeah.
That's
the director of the program, hockey director.
Yeah,
some rinks it's the same person, others it's different. But don't forget about those individuals, because they're the ones making the decisions on the programming for your kids, and let them know if you like it. And then when you do, and over time you build that rapport with them, you become someone they can trust, because you're fair and you're balanced. So if there is something that you feel is really wrong, when you go and talk to them, it's not just like, oh, here we go again, make it stop. It's actually coming from a good place. So bring the positive. That's what I would say.
Exactly. And again, positive, guys, it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not natural for human beings. It's not how, right, neurologically we're designed. We look for the negative. That's what it is. It's just, it's a part of us, right? It's ingrained deeply right inside of our brains, and it's completely normal. So the positive part, when we talk about that, it's not always just, oh, just be positive and that's it. No, it's being positive, but being positive because you're educating your perspective. You're trying to see why it's important to think this way versus this way. If I think this way, it's going to lead to this kind of behavior. If I think this way, it's going to lead to that kind of behavior. And that's at the core of trying to be positive, is seeing it from that perspective to lead towards positive behavior, I think is where
if I can be positive, any of you can be positive. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly.
It does not come all that naturally for me.
And Coach Chris Serrella, again, also another beauty. Absolutely, right? It doesn't matter at all. Labels mean nothing. Amen to that. And we'll get into more of that stuff, right?
Can we tease next week?
Yeah, absolutely.
So next week, in the spirit of Halloween, it's
Oh,
going to be what scares you most. So about this journey as a family with your kid, we certainly have some ideas, but if there's anything out there, if you want to post it as a comment here later on, if you want to share it on Coach Vinny's page or send us a PM, let us know what scares you most about this journey. And that's what we're going to delve into the scary shit next week for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
And if we get, how you want to do, like, if we get enough likes right now or shares, should we dress up in costume?
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's actually good, yeah.
How many shares do you want for us to do a costume?
Let's do, let's keep it simple. Let's do 50 shares.
50 shares. All right, so if we get 50 people to share this video,
50 shares.
we will be in costume next week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got the perfect costume.
4-day tourney in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
Do you
nice.
need someone
Johnny,
to come
thanks,
with?
brother. Oh, I know, exactly. Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you so
Chris.
much, buddy. Awesome stuff.
Do
Yeah,
we
guys.
need a live show from Vegas? Because I would do that.
That's what it's going to be one day. We're going to be doing live shows
Live,
all around
yeah.
the globe, baby.
Bring us, it will come.
So to wrap it up, guys, again, fundamentally, it always comes back to this, right? Development, right? Winning is a byproduct of development.
Yes.
Period in the story. And it starts, influence leads to perspective. It starts from when players are young, right? When kids are young, the influence, how we see it. But it also starts from the influencers. Coaches, parents, owners, we're all in this together. That's the biggest part, right? But it's understanding culture for it to change. We have to understand we all have our own perspective. We all have our own way of doing it. But the leaders, how are we getting this information out? Because we know the better way to do it. We do know the better way. But we're moving slowly because fear, we're going to talk about that next week, right? Of what scares us and all that stuff. And that's a big part. And then just putting it out there and just saying, no, you know what? We're the leaders. We know what's best. We know it's going to be tough in the beginning, but let's see where this goes in the long term. And if we can start thinking like that.
Just curious, if I wasn't here, how long do you think he'd keep talking for? I just want to know.
You're freaking, I wish you could bite your head sometimes. I wish you could bite your head without like hurting you. Like it just, maybe for a second.
Let the people talk of the day.
Lisa, thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, listening. Again, please, any comments, anything below, private message us. Please let us know. The more we hear back from you guys, the more feedback, that gives us more energy.
Yes.
Right? And that gives us more ideas. So the more we get back from there, we'll keep going from there.
Maybe you should have a muzzle for Halloween.
Imagine if we could throw in a muzzle. That should be hilarious.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.
Love you guys. Later.